In this video, we'll introduce operational analytics, the process of digging into large-scale complex data to understand a problem, anomaly, or pattern. Here, we are looking at a dashboard with many types of visualizations. It has different types of measures, which are numeric attributes that you want to aggregate, or some type of computation. This dashboard provides a real-time view of the current situation with a particular data set. In this case, we're looking at network flow data from Imply's VPC on AWS. As we look at the dashboard, we see something interesting with the action attribute, which shows whether a network connection was accepted or rejected. Namely, there's a non-trivial number of rejected connections. With Imply, it's easy to do ad hoc analysis where you select an arbitrary value and explore further, with various measures reflecting that value. When we select reject, all the other tiles change based off that selection. Now, let's dive in deeper on the rejected connections. You'll notice that all interactions are drag and drop to explore, drill in, and explain data. You don't have to write queries. Let's start the analysis by looking at the destination port. Imply selects the visualization that best matches the data, and you can choose a different visualization for the attribute. Which port is getting the most rejections? Well, it looks like most of the rejections are on port 80. Now, let's combine this by looking at the destination address. This is an example of a more complex, multi-dimensional analysis. There are two destination addresses that are getting the bulk of the rejected connections. Let's dig into the IP address getting the bulk of the rejected connections on port 80. And let's explore this further by looking at the service that's getting these connections. This shows the power of interactive analysis, where each step helps narrow down the information for the next step in the exploration. Here, we can see that the service getting the rejection is Clarity Collector Metrics. This shouldn't mean anything to you, as this is an Imply internal service that, as the name suggests, collects metrics. So why is it getting connection requests from the outside? This seems suspicious. Let's continue the analysis by looking at the source addresses for the connections. When we look at the source, we see that there are roughly 16 IPs that have an even number of flows to our internal service. When we look at it over time, this helps give a visual representation for the connections. Now we're looking at this as a percent of total, and we can change it to be the total number of connections. And you can see for every 5 minutes, there are about 30 rejected connections. It's pretty clear that this is an automated connection request from somewhere. The next step is understanding the source IPs the connections are coming from. Our hypothesis is that the IP address for the collector used to be some service that received these automated connection requests. In AWS, if you have a server and terminate it, then the IP address gets reused. So some other company had a service where these servers were connecting. The server was terminated and we got the IP address, but the IP address of the service must have been hard-coded and these servers weren't updated and are still trying to connect. From this video, you should see how easy Imply has made it to interactively analyze large-scale streaming data. With operational analytics, anyone in your company, from the most to the least technical, are able to analyze the data that impacts the running of your company.